and Young Adult Podcast.
It's a fantastic day. It's a great day to be with everybody here today on the podcast. This is podcast 117 if you're new. It's a beautiful day.
It is a beautiful day.
It's a beautiful week of weather.
Oh, yeah. Actually, so this week, I've loved the weather because beginning of the week was a little cooler.
Yes.
Felt really good. I was doing some yard work outside. And I was sweating, but I wasn't sweating because it wasn't 90 degrees outside.
Good sweat.
And then Wednesday, it's supposed to be 85 tomorrow because we record this on a Tuesday.
Yep.
They're tearing down the fourth wall a little bit there.
Just a little bit.
And we're having with our Ignited students, we're having a huge foam pit dodgeball tournament.
By the time they hear this, you have already had it.
We will have already had it.
How did it go?
Well, it's going to be great. It's going to win amazing. And
you got the new 6th graders that are now 7th graders coming up.
That's right.
That's awesome.
And so there's going to be some water elements. And so I was like, I hope it's going to be warm because when we were setting it up on Monday, it was like 68. And I was like, man, this is going to be kind of cold doing this.
No, I think you're going to be great.
It's going to be fantastic.
You know what you need to do Wednesday night?
What do we need to do?
You need to make a big announcement about the podcast for the new students coming in.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, hey, this is where you find it. This is how you can listen to it.
Absolutely.
Because I guarantee you they're not in the podcast.
Right. They're not thinking podcast world.
Well, not.
No way.
I mean,
we said that we were going to do something, Pastor Luke, and a few podcasts ago, maybe 2 podcasts ago, that we were going to give shout outs to people who gave comments.
Ooh, fantastic. Yes.
On our YouTube page.
I got my phone right here.
And I think it was yesterday I checked our latest episode.
Yes.
Or maybe it was last week on Thursday. And we had one comment from Holly. So shout out Holly for giving us a comment on YouTube. And
what was the comment? We got to read the comment.
I can't remember what the comment was.
Come on. Hold on.
It was like Thursday last week when I read it.
I know. I got to find it. I don't know how to find it, actually. Seriously. Got no idea how to find the comments.
Just click on the...
There's got to be a way here in where I can
Are you in studio or are you just on YouTube?
I'm just on YouTube here.
Then you should just be able to click on the video and then you can see all the comments underneath it.
Fantastic. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, here we go. Got a comment here in the latest one from Holly Monty 7456. Let God water the ground where you're planted.
That was it. How many likes does that video have? Because last time when I checked, it had like 3 likes.
I've got no idea. 2.
It's got 2.
It's lost a like.
It's lost a like. That's disheartening.
It's lost a like. But here, let me show you this though, because it's loading slow. We had a comment on a short that we posted.
Okay.
I have to find the short where the comment was at, and it was a bad comment. But I promised everybody that we would go through the comments no matter what they were. Here we go. This one's from PHM. All right, let me just see if... Oh, this is from PH McFaddy 240.
Okay.
Sounds like a real stellar man. He wrote, that's really bad, actually. He's commenting on a short. So, I told you we read the comments, good, bad,
good
ugly.
Or bad.
We're going to read them. We're going to go through them. We're going to read them.
That's right.
I'm trying to see if there's any more. We don't get a lot of comments. I wish we got more comments, honestly.
Yeah, so if you're listening out there, give us a comment on YouTube.
Absolutely.
Comment on a short, comment on a video.
Please. Oh, there's another comment here we need to read. Oh, I think we already read that one. All right, so that's all of our comment reads for today. Okay. Thanks, everybody, for commenting. Good and bad comments.
Absolutely.
I don't care if they're absolutely terrible comments. It doesn't affect me in the slightest.
That's right. We're going to read them.
PH McFaddy, thanks for the comment, man. I appreciate you so much. I don't know you, but I love you.
Thanks for commenting on the page.
I mean, you took time to comment.
Yeah.
That means so much.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
Even a terrible comment, you took time. That means you care.
You care. You care, man.
And we care because you care.
That's right. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
We should incorporate on because we do another podcast for the Cornerstone Church.
Yeah.
With the it's called Walking in His Word.
Yeah.
That goes up. That's a 5-day-a-week podcast. And we should incorporate a comment time for to read all the comments on all of the social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
Ooh, yeah.
That would create chaos.
It would create chaos.
Because those comments are some of the nastiest comments you ever did read in your entire life.
Oh yeah. So have you ever? I know me and you do a podcast, and we do a podcast for youth and young adults.
Yeah.
You're a big podcast guy. So you listen to a lot of podcasts.
I do listen to a lot of podcasts. I find that on my car rides and my walks, I listen to a lot of podcasts.
For sure. I'm the same way. Have you ever commented or like sent in an email, like a question, like a mailbag episode or something, and had like your name or like your question read?
No, I've thought about commenting a lot. There is one podcast in particular that at the end, he always reads a lot of comments, good and bad.
Okay.
And it's really funny. It's like part of my favorite time of the podcast because I mean, he reads absolutely terrible comments where it's just so funny. And he reads them confidently, which makes it really funny.
Yeah, which makes it great.
But I've I really want to comment on that podcast in particular because I want my name and my comment read. I'd like that a lot.
Yeah. There's an episode or there's a podcast I listen to, and it's a long podcast. And at the end of every episode, they do a short mailbag section, like 9 minutes of mailbag.
That's long. Every podcast?
Yeah.
Wow, that's long.
It's like an hour-long podcast.
Okay.
So like the last little like segment, they do like 8-9 minutes.
That's cool. I like that.
Of
that's
mailbags.
A good idea.
Yeah, especially with a long pod. Like our podcast is like 25-30 minutes.
Yeah.
But there's an hour, so it's cool. And I sent in an email question. And like they read my name like on the podcast and like answered the question. I was like, oh, that was so cool. And so if you guys want your name read on our podcast, just leave us a comment.
Yeah, we'll read it.
We'll read it. Give us a comment on YouTube, send in a mailbag question, Aaron@ignited.org.
Lucas@ignited.org. We've already got a ton of mailbag questions in.
Yeah, we love you guys. Just keep sending in mailbag questions. We love them. Keep them coming.
We're already got a ton in, so that means that we can take a few more, and we hopefully can get to all the questions on the next mailbag podcast.
Absolutely.
But I had I got a great topic for today's podcast, Pastor Aaron.
Yeah, I'm liking it.
I wanted to talk about stress. Stress, because whenever I get stressed out, I always have the same natural physical response. Fear, worry, concern, panic, a little bit of like paralyzation too.
Yeah.
Like you kind of feel a little bit of paralyzation, like you don't know your first move, so you kind of don't do anything, which actually causes more stress.
For sure. Oh yeah.
It really reminds me a lot like first day of school where your teachers talk about everything you're going to do that year. And you kind of leave your first week or first few days of school, you kind of you're real stressed. Mm-hmm. And it just feels like, this is going to be so much work this semester. Am I going to get all this done? And your little bit of response is to just kind of procrastinate.
Oh, yeah.
That's a natural response to stress is a little bit like paralyzation, procrastination. I think about that too. And how would you say that your natural physical response to stress would be?
Yeah, so I've noticed, and I've actually noticed this more from having healthy people around me that are around me a lot that can have noticed these, noticed these responses that I have. And one of them is I've noticed, and people have talked to me about, when I get really stressed, I internalize everything.
Get quiet?
I get really quiet.
That's I've seen that in people. Okay.
And so
they know when you're stressed, when you're really quiet.
Yeah, when I'm really quiet, when I'm not really talking, and I'm just almost like head down, just
thinking.
I'm like, I don't want you to talk to me.
Yeah.
And so people have noticed that I'll start to get like that. Even I have a few just almost looking back at them like comical stories.
Yeah.
Number of years ago, I was fishing with Pastor Evan, and we were using my boat, and my motor broke when we were out on the lake. And I don't know if you've ever like been out with somebody and you're using like your equipment and something goes wrong. Like I feel so bad in that moment because like I'm trying to help you guys have a great time. You know, whatever it is, it could be, you know, your grill or you're I don't know, you're out doing something and something breaks and you're like, I get like so stressed in that moment. And I was so stressed. Like I didn't say anything. And Pastor Evan and actually Jason Allman were on the boat. And they were like cracking jokes and like trying to be like lighthearted and funny. And like after a few minutes, they realized like, yeah, Aaron hasn't said a word in like 5 minutes. And then they told me when we got back to the ramp, we're like, oh yeah, we knew you were like real stressed when you hadn't said anything for like 5 minutes. And I was like, okay, yeah. So yeah. I've tried to work on that and because talking through sometimes if you're really stressed, sometimes talking through it can really help and be a really healthy way to deal with stress. But it's not my natural response at all.
There's a true story of a young boy. Now the young, I heard this story because this pastor, he's a grown man. He told this story from when he was a boy. He said, when I was a boy, my father gave me a pale cow. Ever heard of a pale cow? Okay. I didn't know what a pale cow was either. And he explained what a pale cow was. But I guess that if you take a cow and you don't let it nurse or drink the milk from the mother, you wean it like quickly and you can give that little baby cow to like a kid to take care of. And when you take it off, when you wean it really quickly and you give it to like a kid to take care of, they call it a pale cow because you're feeding it from a pail.
Okay.
You're letting it drink and eat from a pail.
Okay.
So they call it a pale cow. Anyway, he says, when I was a boy, my father gave me a pale cow. And it was my responsibility to take care of the cow. And it got sick. And he says, I gave it more milk. And that was the wrong thing to do. I shouldn't have done that, he said. He goes, but I was, trying to figure out how to get this cow back to health.
Yeah.
I gave it a bunch of milk. That was the first mistake I made. Then I decided to keep it inside the barn.
Okay.
Because it was sick. And that was another mistake I made.
Yeah.
That I was not supposed to do that at all, that I was supposed to let it out of the barn.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I'm not exactly sure. He didn't explain. And he goes, and my cow continued to get even sicker, and then it died.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he said, and I was real sad, and it was a very stressful days for me. And I experienced all this, I tried to figure out all this stuff on my own. And I was really sad my cow died, and I finally had to tell my dad that the cow got sick and died. And so I told him, and my dad was very mad at me. And I said, Dad, I did the best I could. And he goes, I'll never forget. My dad looked me right in the eye and he says, no, you did not do the best you could. And he goes, because the best thing you should have done was come to me.
Wow. Yeah.
You should have come to me. You don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You should have come to me. And he goes, and when he said that to me, the whole time my cow was sick, I kept thinking to myself, I need to go to my dad, but I want to figure this out. I want to try this.
Right.
Like, I was stressed.
Yeah.
And I made wrong decisions in the stress. I was fearful, and it caused me to isolate myself.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get in trouble, so I didn't want to tell anybody my cow was sick.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And my dad said, no, you did not do the best you could.
Right.
The best you can do is come to me. And he goes, I learned a valuable lesson that day that has stuck with me my entire life. He goes, I'm well aged in my life now. And he goes, but that life lesson as a child, anytime I get into trouble, I naturally want to isolate out of fear, out of just don't want people to think I'm bad.
Yeah.
At my job, or
right.
Not just my job, but maybe like a bad father, a bad husband, a bad friend. I don't want people, so I kind of I hide things. And I always remember what my dad says. No, the best thing that you could do was come to me. And he goes, so now I naturally will always go with this idea of isolation. I'll naturally want to go there, but then I think, no, that's not the best.
Right.
I need to go to somebody who knows more than me.
That's so good.
Isn't that good?
Yeah, that's so good because I feel like I definitely relate, to that pastor's story of when I get really stressed, it's that isolation, it's that shutdown. I don't want to let anybody in, kind of a mentality. That's my natural response, and I've learned. I'm only 26, but I've learned that that's not necessarily that's not the right response.
Now you do that because you don't want to look bad.
Yeah, I guess it's that. I don't want to look bad. I don't want to maybe put more on other people.
Yeah, but I don't want to be a burden.
Yeah, I don't want to be a burden to somebody else.
I mean, is there other reasons? Because I do the same thing where I'll have trouble with certain things.
Yeah.
And I really take it personal. And I don't want others to know that I'm struggling.
Right.
Because of I'm trying to keep up a facade.
Yeah, almost embarrassment.
Embarrassment, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I think yep, that's part of it for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely that for me, and it's also this idea of like you used a great word earlier that I feel like I don't want to be a burden to somebody else. If I'm like, hey, I'm really stressed about this, I'm not sure what to do. Can you help me? I feel like I'm going to be a burden to them. Mm-hmm. But I'll give you an example of something where normally I feel like it's not my natural response, but I feel like this past month there was something that was kind of stressing me out that I handled in a much healthier way.
Okay.
We are getting ready right now, just a couple weeks away from taking a team of 20 short-term missionaries to the Amazon jungle with one of our missionaries we support. I'm get to be one of the co-leaders that's leading this team down there. I'm very, very excited about it. It's a type of a trip I've wanted to do for a long time. And the missionary David Pepper, he was the one who set up the trip, and he sent us the itinerary. And before he did, he said, hey, how many preachers are you going to bring down? And I said, well, I can preach, and one of our deacons who's helping me lead the trip, Deacon Pablo, he can preach. And he's like, awesome. And then he sent us the schedule, and he has me preaching 5 times in 7 days. And one of them is a crusade style thing. And I've never preached anything like that before. And it started to stress me out.
Yeah.
And because I was like, it's not that I don't want to do it. It's just something I've never done before. I don't even know what to start thinking about. It's like, well, I guess I'll just preach the gospel. And it was stressing me out.
Yeah.
And then I came to you and I said, hey, do you have any advice for doing this kind of stuff? Because I know you've preached overseas multiple times. And,
yeah. I'm going in October, actually, too.
Yeah. And you gave me some great advice. And I was thinking about it. And then I talked to Pastor Tim, our pastor, and I said, hey, would it be okay? And I was almost didn't ask him because I didn't want to be that burden to him,
Yes.
But then I talked to him and I said, hey, Pastor, David Pepper asked me to preach all these times. Would you have time this week to just sit down with me for a few minutes and give me some advice? And you know what he said? He's like, absolutely. I would love to. Come into my office. Let's sit down for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And he gave me such good advice for 15, 20 minutes. I was taking notes like crazy. I was like, well, I don't know what I was so afraid of. Because he was like, absolutely, I want to see you succeed. I want to help you. Very similar to response to what you gave me. Yeah, of course I'll give you some advice.
Yeah.
Because this is something you've never done before. Mm-hmm. I want to help you succeed in this. But for some reason, that is not my natural response. My natural response is I want to hide and not let anybody know that I'm stressed, and because I don't want to be a burden to them, and I don't want them to think that I don't know what I'm doing.
Yes. Yeah. You're trying to put out an image that's not real, but it's what you want people to think about you.
Right.
And that is stressful too.
Yeah.
And that's a kind of So like bad news is stressful, but then internalizing the bad news and pretending like you got it all together actually is a whole nother side of stress.
Yeah.
So now you're doubling your stress.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know I got some like stressful news yesterday. And immediately you get this news and like all those feelings hit you. All and like it's like a little bit of like fear, anger, frustration, sadness, all like mixed.
Yep.
It's a weird brew. And like it all hit me like that. And I did not know what to do right away. Like honestly, I did not know what to do, which really spurred this topic today because I realized, wait a second, I know what to do. I know exactly what to do. I need to sit down with the team and I need to bring up the problem and I need to say, who has ideas?
Right.
Does anybody have a thought?
Yeah.
Maybe somebody's got a solution. I don't have the answers. That's going to be the proper way to handle this thing. And when I realize that I wasn't at a dead end, that I had maybe multiple different avenues to take, that we're going to be okay.
Right.
We're going to be okay.
Yeah.
But it was the idea that like, I've got to figure this all out by myself was really adding to my stress.
Oh yeah.
And so but naturally, every single time I go to this idea that I got to figure this out all by myself.
Yep.
It's interesting, Pastor Aaron, because sometimes something happens and it really does feel like you've got nowhere to go. Like who can help me? So like if my lawnmower breaks, I know who to call.
Right.
If like I'm having trouble with my kids, I know multiple different like people to go to. Like if something in my house breaks, I know who to call.
Yeah.
But then there are some problems, Pastor Aaron, where it feels like I do not know where to turn.
Right.
What do I do? What kind of advice do we give people like that? Like maybe somebody's out there like struggling like right now and they just really have absolutely no idea where to go. What would be the first thing you would do in that situation?
Yeah, I think there's two things that immediately came to my mind. And it kind of depends a little bit on, well, it really shouldn't depend on the kind of stress, but I feel like we make it. I'd say the first thing that I would say to do is kind of to go to the Lord and pray about it. And not like, here's something that I feel like the Lord's really been teaching me and using in my life is not praying like, God, here's this thing. I don't know what to do. Help me. But really learning how to, what I've kind of labeled as like ugly pray and really
Real prayer.
Real prayer. Just
Yeah.
get really real and raw with God and let him know how you're feeling.
You know, Jen did her podcast mini, on Monday.
Yeah.
And it was about prayer. And
Yeah.
she talked about the importance of process praying.
Yeah.
Where like you are telling God, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like this is a real prayer.
Yeah.
And I'm processing this with you.
Yeah. So I would say doing that is something that really is a great way to help with that. Another thing this is something that I'm learning right now, because just a few months ago, I had a situation that just recently got resolved, but I'd been trying to fix it myself for months and I could not figure it out. And finally somebody asked me about it, said, hey, how's it going with that? And I'd been like not wanting to talk about it because I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
And they were like, how's it going? I was like, well, everything that I know how to do, I tried and it didn't work. And like this person had no idea how to fix it either. But they're like, well, let's just ask a bunch of people. And they said, let's like get some people to help you with this. And so they helped me get a few people around me. And now all of a sudden there was 3 of us working on this project. and it wasn't me. Somebody else said, hey, I found somebody through somebody. I called a guy who knows a guy
Wow.
who has a solution to fix this problem. And then I called that guy and he said, yeah, I can help with that. But I was literally at a dead end. I didn't know what to do. But this person said, hey, let's get a few people around us. Let's build a team to fix this problem so it's not just you.
So like, if I hear you correctly, and I think I am, like if you are in a situation where you have a problem on your hands and you have no idea where to turn, just start turning to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
I think that sounds like a good plan to me.
Yeah.
It sounds like the smart plan.
Yeah.
Turn to the Lord and then turn to as many people as you possibly can, because the Bible does talk about how a wise person has many counselors.
Yeah, that's right.
And I've heard that too. Dr. Tim Elmore said you should have 5 mentors in your life. Mm-hmm. You should have like a spiritual mentor,
Yeah.
a financial mentor,
Right.
so on and so forth. Different mentors for different aspects and avenues of your life, because it's very rare that there is one person who's an expert
Yeah.
at all of it.
Right.
You should have like maybe a therapist in your life too, like, an expert to help you emotionally, like just have all these mentors in your life.
Oh, yeah.
And I've always thought that is smart, like to think like that. And Jen and I have that. I feel like we have like a financial advisor.
Yeah.
We have somebody that we turn to when it comes to like raising children. I feel like we have people that we turn to when it comes to marriage problems, marriage advice. We've got people that we turn to with spiritual stuff, which is different,
Yeah.
And then there's other avenues too in our life that I feel like we have different people that we go to for different pieces of advice. And that's just setting yourself up to say, okay, if I have a problem in my life, I have upwards of 4 to 5 people that I can turn to. And the first 3 might not know what to do.
Yeah.
But maybe the 4th one will.
Yeah.
And to just open up that Rolodex, so to speak. If you don't know what a Rolodex is, you can look it up. But open up your Rolodex and go to just as many people as you possibly can, and you'll probably have a lot of people say, "I've got no idea."
Yeah.
I've got no idea. Let's end with this, because we're almost done today.
All right.
Because you're gonna have some problems in your life where not a single person can help you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I'll explain to you a situation in my life where not a single person could help me. I was about to graduate from college, and I had multiple different job offers.
Okay.
And they were like different parts of the United States. And I had no idea what to do.
Yeah.
No idea what to do. And I started praying, like going to the Lord with it, kind of.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of. Like I really wasn't praying. I was more like thinking and worrying.
Yeah.
It's very different,
Yeah, for sure.
And I was like, oh, I know what to do. I am going to ask some of these. I had like 3 professors that like I had built what I would consider to be like quality relationships with as my 4 years at college.
Yeah.
So I was like, I really respect them. They have made this transition. They're working in their full-time job. So I'm like, they'll tell me what to do.
Right.
So I remember sitting down with the first professor, and I told him exactly what was happening in my situation. I said, what do I do? And this guy looked me right in the eye and says, I'm not touching this. I'm not touching this. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I don't know what you should do.
Yeah.
And I don't want to tell you what to do and then it be wrong and then you're angry at me because you're going to blame me.
Right.
I was like, oh, you're killing me, man. I was like, I'm not telling you what to do. I went to the second professor. He said the same thing. I went to the third professor. He said the exact same thing.
Wow.
Then I started going to my friends, kind of like start at the top and then like work your way down to like, and I was like, what do I do? What do I do? And every single person was so smart and wise. And they're like, I'm not telling you what to do.
Yeah.
I don't know what you should do.
Right.
And you know what I finally had to do?
What'd you have to do?
I said, Lord, I've left you out of this whole thing.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
I really haven't really come to you yet. And Lord, what do I do? which road do I take? And he speaks to me.
So good.
It wasn't the answer I was expecting either,
Wow.
but he speaks to me. And I now know what to do.
Right. Come on.
And there are some situations in your life where not a single person can help. Mm-hmm. That's okay. I think that's when the Lord loves to speak.
Yeah. Come on. That's so good.
I
That's
really
so
do.
good. That's so good.
He's like, finally. Lord's like, finally you come to me because I've known all along, but you haven't asked me yet.
Yeah.
And you just have to go to the Lord. If you're in that situation, there's more hope for you than anything. There's like so much hope for you.
Yeah. Come on. That's so good.
Because the Lord is going to give you the best.
Oh, yeah.
The best. He's going to give you the best. He's going to tell you what to do. It's going to be the best.
Yep.
And so if you're in a situation like that, go to God. I promise you. I promise you go to the Lord. He'll tell you what to do, especially if you're totally at wit's end, dead end.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. 100% agree.
Man, so how do you handle stress? I hope we helped.
I hope we helped.
I feel like I helped. We helped a little bit.
I hope so. This was a great discussion.
Good. I thought so too.
Yeah.
I thought so too.
I liked it.
It's been great to be with you today, audience. Podcast 117.
117, baby.
We'll catch you on the next one.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Youth and Young Adult Podcast. Youth and Young Adult Podcast. Youth and Young Adult Podcast.